event of refactoring, day 20, and today is going to be a bit of an example talking through how refactorings can be super complicated but can result in something that ends up being a lot simpler. We've got a view here, a request, a function view, takes a request and deals with a form. If it's a GET request, then sorts out a form based upon the GET data. If it's a POST, it sorts out the form based upon the POST data. If it's valid, it returns a redirect after saving the form. Otherwise, it builds the template that it needs to render and returns the form. So how can we refactor this into some bits that are a bit more common? So we're going to start off by doing the method class refactoring. So class register form view, and we'll have a new method which we're just going to dispatch the request that comes in. So def dispatch self request, and we'll grab all this stuff here, cut it, paste it in there, select it all, indent it a level, and here we can just say return register form view dot dispatch request. So we've moved it all into here. So we can start cutting it apart without changing anywhere that it's being touched on the rest of the site. So first, let's look for any obvious things we can separate out. Well, we've got this bit here, the template. Let's get that, and we can refactor that. Extract method. We'll call this get template. There we go. That looks nice. And anything else that's completely easy to separate out. Well, we've got this form is valid business there. That's doing something totally separate. So let's grab that and we'll refactor that out. Oh, it says no refactorings available. Okay, we'll have to do it manually then. So let's just grab that then, and we'll just say return self.form valid, pass the form in there, shall we? Then here we can just say def form valid self form and pass the form in there. There we go. So we've now got the form valid bits completely separated. For having form valid, we probably ought to have like form is invalid, right? So we can say otherwise we probably want to have like return form dot is invalid form. Well, so that'll be what we want to do in a minute. We've got stuff separated in different places here, so let's sort of try and combine things a bit, shall we? Might need a bit of duplication first. So this bit here, we'll paste it in there, and this bit there, we can just tab that in. So we've now got two sort of equally leveled pieces, which means this stuff here, will it let us refactor this? Now it doesn't. VS Code being a pain today, so we can say return self.get request. We'll put that here, def get self request, and that stuff, shift tab that. And this stuff is going to be the post, so we'll grab all of that, cut that, return self.post request, and def post self request, post that in there. And all of that stuff we can then sort of shift tab that out. So there's any other bits here that we can then sort of sort out the duplication of it and sort of make things a bit more separate. So we've got this get template business. We're building the template, and we're passing in like this context that looks like something sort of very similar, doesn't it? The form as well, the register form, like we've got that duplicated. So let's sort of try separating some of that stuff out, shall we? What we can do is we can say def get form class self, and why don't we just say return that? So here it'll be return that, and here you can then say self.get form class. Copy that and paste it there. So we've got the register form there. So we've now, it's calling the same method, but it means we could just override it once if we need to. We don't need to go hunting around for register form all over the place. Stuff that goes inside it, how about that? Can we do anything with that? Yeah, let's make that into a separate one as well, shall we? So we'll say def get form kwargs self, and get form kwargs. That needs to either return request.get or request.post. So that needs to know about the request. So how about we just do something up here? We'll just say self.request equals requests. We don't have to keep on passing it through everywhere. We'll get that stuff here, and we'll just say self.get form kwargs. Yeah, let's double star that. Get form kwargs. We can just say return return data request.get self.request.get. Yeah, but it needs to be the either version, right? So let's just do if self.request.method equals post return data self.request.post, otherwise return that one. That means we've then got the right thing here. We can just copy that and paste it in. So for either of those two, good. That's now duplicated, so let's like add another level of indirection. So def get form self, and then we can copy that because that will cut that. So self.get form. There we go. Return self.get form class with the get form kwargs. Great. So that we can get form. There we go. So we've now got this. Get form does all that stuff. Still some duplication on here, isn't there? Like the building this form and rendering and stuff like that. So how about we sort of extract this and duplicate that out? So this is like rendering the form output into a thing, isn't it, with the context? So let's cut that and we'll say return self.render to response and pass it some context, yeah? So here we can then do self def render to response self and take some sort of context, and it will take the self.request, and it builds the thing and returns a correct type of thing. So that means there can then do that. That's good. We've got the context is duplicated now here. So should we do the same type of refactoring there as well? We'll do def get context data self and take some stuff. So we can then say context equals a dictionary, and then context dot update. And we're going to pass in the kwargs thing, and then return context. There we go. So then here, this context thing, we can just say self dot get context data and pass in form equals form. There we go. So now we don't need that anymore. And then this thing here, render to response with the context, that can do that. We don't need that anymore. So now the get is just like get the form, do the thing. Post is now get the form, check if it's valid, do the thing. Let's move this to a separate one as well, shall we? So else, so return form.is invalid, and then that means this is def is invalid self form, and it should be return self.is invalid. Oh, form invalid. There we go. Form invalid. There we go. So we've separated it, that one simple function into hundreds of tiny pieces. And why would you do something like this? Well, it now means we can move some bits out of all of these functions into sort of higher level classes and then reuse them. So we could have a class view, so just a very basic top level view, and make this class inherit from that view. So let's grab this whole thing here and just move that up to the view. So now our register form view is a lot simpler than it was. It just requires it has a get and a post thing. What else could we move out of here as well? Well, we could have a the rendering stuff. That feels like it's like a duplicatable thing, right? So we'll have now class template view, and that's going to be a subtype of view, and it needs this render to response thing, and we'll change this to a template view, so it inherits all of the stuff from there, and it's going to need the get context data thing and the render to response thing. So we'll grab those, cut those out there, and paste those into there. So we've now got view, which just handles requests coming in and routing it to different places. Got template view, which is a type of view, but it adds these extra pieces here, this render to response and get context data stuff. Then our register form view, which is a template view and does all of these things here. Is there anything else we need? Oh yeah, get template. This thing needs get template. So let's move get template up there as well, shall we? Let's get template, move that up into here as well. This is stuff that's sort of specific to our register form view, right? What about if we made like a generic default for it and then just overrode it in our one down there, the bottom there? So we could say here, we could say template name equals template view.html, something like that. We can come up with something cleverer later, right? Then here in our get template, we could just have return self.template name. There we go. We'll copy that, delete this version, just leave the generic version in the template view, and come back down here to our own version that we've got and paste this back in. Let's move this piece here out to the top. We'll say template name equals, that's our basic template. And then we can say for our version, just for this register form view, we could say if it's that, return that. Otherwise, return super.get template. There we go. Request. There we go. We don't need that anymore. We can just say return like that. So now that's bit that's actually like important, right, for this particular register form view. What other bits might we need? Well, the form itself. There's lots of stuff here that feels very duplicatey, right? So how about we separate that stuff out? So we've got the template view. How about we create a new form view? So class form view, and that's going to be a type of template view. And then our register form view can be type of form view. So this get and this post, they have nothing to do with the register form. They can be part of that top one, right? So just move them up there. And getting the template, that's specific to us. But if the form is invalid, there's nothing there that's specific. Get form, nothing that's specific. So we'll grab that stuff there and move that out to our form view class. There we go. Get form class, that's an interesting one. Let's have a look at that, shall we? We're just returning register form. Well, this pattern of having a thing at the top is quite nice. So how about we just say form class equals register form. There we go. And here we could say return self dot form class. There we go. So we could then cut that out, move that up to here. So it returns the form class. It'll throw an error if there isn't one defined, but there is one here for our form, isn't there? Get form kwargs and the form valid. Well, the form kwargs has nothing specific to us here, so we can just pull that out, pop that here into the template view as well, the form view as well. Got a thing here which overrides the template, and form valid where we save it and we return this redirect thing. Returning to a redirect, that feels kind of generic as well. That's not, we don't, yeah, any form might want to do that. So how about we sort of copy this stuff out as well? How about we have like a success view equals that, right? So self.success view. There we go, got a success view, we've defined that. And the this one, let's copy that out, shall we? Move that into our form view here. And some forms might not want to save, right? But we're always going to want to redirect to the success view. So we can leave that as that, which means our form valid here, we can then do return super dot form valid form. So we don't need that extra logic here. Instead we've just got the do the default thing. So now we've got our register form view, which have some definitions at the top of custom like constants that we need to know. We've overridden get template because we do have some custom logic there for the right HTMX template thing. Got a form valid thing here which does our form valid stuff. What about this get template stuff here? This feels like it's a special different thing, but some things don't need that. So how about we just create a mix-in for that? I'm going to say class HTMX template mix-in, and we can grab all of that stuff. We'll do the same thing, I think. We're going to have like a HTMX template name equals, move that bit out there, yeah? And then copy that, return self.htmx template name. Get that, move that out into our mixin. Then here we can just say HTMX template mixin in the form view. So now our view is defined way simpler. The only thing that's custom in the whole thing is this form save if it's valid. And the rest of it is all defined just with these class attributes. So it's very declarative. And all the stuff that we've done up here, we've just basically invented really rubbish, cheap versions of stuff that already exists in Django. View, template view, form view, all that stuff already exists. So we can just delete it, and we can say from django.views.import, where is it? Django.views.generic import form view. We've now got form view, the Django defined version. We've got the HTMX template mixin, which we've got there. There's actually a library that has this defined already, so we can just import it from there as well. And our logic is way simpler, and all of the standard ways of working are done in place. This bit's a bit funky. We can talk about that some other time. But this explains like why we use class-based views for a lot of stuff. Loads of the default logic is all already defined for us. We don't need to worry about it. And it means if we do need to override bits of it, like if we need to add some new piece of functionality, we can say, like some new template context, say def get context data. That would be the super context data. So we can just say context equals that, return context, and then we add extra stuff into our context. So context events equals whatever it is we need to do to get events. That way we have like a standard place we can get all of the context data, stuff like that. We have standard place we can get all of the put our form stuff together. And these methods, these overridable methods within a larger piece, uses some of the concepts we've been talking about in refactoring over the last week or so. It's kind of interesting, huh? Django's views and view hierarchy is very complicated, and this type of refactoring is not stuff that we would normally do in day-to-day work. If you're building a library, having these big class hierarchies can be really helpful, but in normal code it's just confusing. One really useful resource is the ccbv.co.uk, the classy class-based views. This shows all of the different views and all the different pieces. So if we go to view, the top level one, we can see all of the things that descend from it. We can see each of the individual methods. So the dispatch method that we defined, you can see exactly how that works in the Django version of it. If we go to base, can see template view to see exactly what template view defines and all the things that depend upon it. So you can see that it has a get context data, getting the context data, building the context with all the different pieces in there, getting the template names, getting the right templates, which attributes it expects to have. If we go to the edit, we can go to the form view, see how the form view is built, all the different pieces. CCBV is really useful. Anyway, that was more of a fun over-engineering solution for just one tiny function. It kind of shows how refactoring stuff can give you a whole bunch more reusability of stuff. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.